This video will show how to create a data tracking set that you can easily access yourself, enter in, and then have uh, sheets that you can share with your students to make it something very easy for them to see data that they may not be able to see all in one place. And you can also share out with parents. So what I've done is I've got a sheet here and I've gone through and I've made some generic stuff just so that way I can enter in whatever it is later. I've got a student and then I've got a sheet number. And you can see all these have links. These are ones I've already got done. And then what's going to happen is once I made the one, I just copied it for all the sections that I need. And then I made this other one for notes just so that way when I do a particular test, there's some things I want to say, like if it's a benchmark, students need to get this percentage to be considered on track, that kind of thing. I can put it on there, and then I'll show you the neat part here in just a second, but all of that will be right there for students and parents to easily see. And even if they don't look at it beforehand, it makes it handy so that you can pull up for them individually for conferences and such. So, what we're going to do is we're going to make, for each of the classes, we're going to make one of these sheets. And what happens is on this sheet, everything that I type in here for this student number one, except their name because they should know their own name, is going to show up on this sheet. And I'll show you what happens. So like here, let's say that I do my unit 1 test. And this particular student got a 85%. Now, as far as some of these formatting things, you can format them so that they do percentages like I've done here. You can instead make them so that they just show the number, and all that's in your formatting stuff. So all you have to do there is you can format so that it does a particular number, and like I said, I put percents. You can do whatever you want. Anyway, so now that I've changed this to unit 1 and I've changed this to this, that student, when they check it later, they should see it update just like that. And now that they can see that. Now, if I put any notes, because this is my advanced group, I can say that this was unit 1 standards, and I can put what unit that was, or what objectives those were. So I can say that's NC 6.G.1. And once I hit enter, it'll be over here. And so now it'll say there. I also set this up so that whatever I typed in on that first page would pop up there, so that way it shows up there. So it's just a way to keep track of everything and make it easy for students to see everything, and like I said, for parents as well. So I'm going to go put this back to what it was. Now, this is one of those things that looks like it's neat, but can't you just give it to me, or not take hours to do? It's not too bad to do, and part of the reason why you have to do this yourself is because the links will only pop up for you as you're doing them. So you have to create all those kind of things how you want to do them. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump to a block that I don't have done yet. So there's what I've got. I've got everything set up in this. Now I've got to put in the links. So I'm going to go and create a new sheet. And I would suggest naming them by each block. So this one is for the third block. This is going to be the first student in that block. Okay. So I would suggest moving this into a folder where you can get into all those things and do what you need to make it easy. So I'm going to click on here to go into my drive. Once I found where I've got it in my drive, I'm just going to click move here. You can also create a folder. I would suggest storing them all in one folder so that way everything is in one organized place. You don't have to put them in a folder, but then it just jumbles up your drive. So I'm going to click move here. Boom, it's done. Now it's where I can see it easier. All right, so things I'm going to do is I'm going to label some stuff here. I'm going to put test on one row, and I'm going to put score on another row. And I'm going to skip a space and put notes. So what I want to do is I want all that stuff from the other pages to show up here. So first thing I'm going to do is I want to change the entire thing to one font. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I also want to put everything centered, and I want to put everything center in the middle. Now, the reason why that's a big deal, it's not so much for the test and the score numbers that'll pop up, but that's for your notes. Biggest reason is, some things you might put a bunch of notes and others you might not. And I've got it set to the wrapping text. So what'll happen is this will just move down and create space. So otherwise, if you don't do that, everything's going to just center at the bottom and it'll just look weird. I am going to also change those to 14 and bold. Again, this is like what you want to do. And next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to format these columns. So I want to get these columns so that they're not super wide, because that way then I can try and get all the data on here at once. Let's change that. All right, good. And so all these are where all the scores are going to show up. So I'm not going to click on that because it's going to think I want to drag it, but I'm not going to. I'm going to just click on that first one and drag over. And I know I go up through letter P on my columns. And I'm going to resize all of those. And if I make them 75, it's pretty much what I want. I want everything to show up pretty much on one page. It's got a little bit past, but that's not a huge deal. And you may not even use all those. Now, how do I know what cells it's going to go to? So I can go back into my original document. And if I look, I'm going to go up through 14. Now, I only put the 14 spots because I know for me, I'm going to have 8 unit tests, and I'm going to have at least 3 benchmark tests. And then for my advanced kids, I got a couple more units that I do with them. So 14 just gave me a number of columns I might need. I may not use all of them, but then that way I don't have to go back and add anything in. All right, so this is where the magic needs to happen, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and go through all of these columns here, these spaces, and I'm going to bump those up to size 12. Again, this is just ticky-tack stuff, and you can do what you want, and I want to leave these at 10. But you don't want to do that, don't do that. I mean, it's really just if you want to make some look different. And I'm going to make the first row with the test name pop a little bit more and be black. Okay, so now here's where the magic happens. What you're going to do is you're going to put an equal sign and import range. Okay, now once you've done that, you're going to hit tab to accept, or you can click on it. Then what we're going to do, okay, it didn't want to take it from me. After you put import range, so now it knows it's a function. So you're going to have that that first part there that's got the parenthesis. And then what you need to do is you need to put the put a quotation mark, and then you need the address of that entire page. So what's going to happen is, and I'm going to go back to the first page here. I'm going to just go up here, copy that. And then in here, I'm going to paste that. Okay. Now, the reason I'm doing this is it's going to give me, it's going to pull the data from this sheet. So I need to put a comma. My next thing is going to be where it needs to pull that data from. Now, if you only have one page, it's only going to take from that one page. This is for my third block, which I named the tab block 3. So what I need to do next here is, inside the quotation marks again, I'm going to put block space 3 because that's how I have it. And then I need to tell it what cells I'm going to use. So I'm going to put an exclamation mark so it knows to look at that tab. And I'm going to need cells C1 through P1. So now I'm going to put a C. It doesn't matter if you put capital or not. A colon, oops, C1, colon, and P1. And then once I do that, I'll hit enter. Magic happens. Uh-oh, magic didn't happen. What happened? Well, I got to allow access. Now, what's going to happen is the kids are going to be able to see this sheet, but they're not going to be able to access that. But you have to allow access so that the magic can happen and all the stuff that you type appears, that so that way you don't have to do a lot of work on it. Okay. Now, I'm going to go back up here. And I am going to right click and, oops, wrong thing. I'm going to right click and click copy and paste it here. Now it shows the same thing, but that's not what I want to show. I want to show that first row for that kid, and this is the first student. Well, if I look back on here, the first row for a student is row 2. So all I got to do is keep those same letters, but now I'm going to change them all to a 2. Okay. Now, all my notes stuff I want to put in again, and that's notes for data. And since this is one of my regular math classes, I want to start with this cell and get all the way through cell O, and that's on the 4th line. So I'm going to click in, and I can actually put in that same thing that I have up here. I can paste it again, because what I need to do is I need to change this part for the name of the tab. And the name of the tab is Notes for Data. Now I've got to go over and I got to change this part. So it's cell B4 through cell O4. So this is cell B4 to cell O4. Press that, and now everything's here. And if I want to check it, all I need to do is just in one of those boxes that should pull up, I can just type something real quick, and within a few seconds, it should pop. So magic didn't happen, but that's because I'm still active in the cell. I have to actually enter out of the cell and move off the cell before it's going to actually pop up. Okay, and whatever you put for your stuff, it'll show up exactly like you want to set it. So even though I've got it over here as just kind of a plain data, it's going to look exactly the same like that, whatever you set for there. Okay. All right. So now you may be saying to yourself, well, that's great, fine, and dandy, but we just did one, and I am planning on having at least 35 ready for a class. If I got to do this every time, this is going to take forever and a day. That's where the internet magic come into play. Now all I got to do is I got to make a copy. I'm going to change it to 3-2, so it's block 3 and in for 2. And it did not want to stay in my folder. So I'm going to go ahead and move it over into my folder before I start because it should just go right there. And make a copy. All right. So now everything is done, really. All I've got to do is one thing. I'm going to click in here. I'm going to click allow access, so it pulls that information again. But now since I'm on the third row for that second student, I'm going to just change these to 3. And I'm done. And so now all I got to do is just make all the copies. The copies do take a little bit of time. But once you've got one, the rest of this goes pretty fast because all you're doing is going in and clicking allow access, change that now to a 4. Again, the reason why this is going to be at a 4 instead of a 3 is back here in my data. If I look at the cells that are going to be linked with that, then that's going to be 3, okay? So I just go through and I do all my things, and once I've got them all done, then stop for the day. And I'll show you why. So once you've got all those, you want to put them so that they're easy to get to for you. So you can right click and put insert a link, or you can hit Control K and that'll bring this up. And I'm just going to put in the title of that first one. Well, there it is, no problem. Boom, done. Now I've got it linked to it. Problem is, sometimes these won't necessarily pop up right away. So what you may need to do is just finish it one day and then come back the next day, see how this one's not here in the quick. I can go and grab that address for it, but it's going to take a long time. So what I suggest is that instead of taking that and clicking back and forth a million times, because this goes pretty fast, is just when you get it done, come back the next day. And like this, which I've already done earlier, now those pop up without a problem. So I would say do your one part and then the other. Each class is going to take about 20 to 30 minutes to set up. It's mostly just getting the first part done, but once you've got that, it really does go quick. It's just a matter of just taking a little bit of time. This is one of those things that, like, if you want to make sure that your parents have data easy to look at quickly, this is a great way to share it out so that once you do this front load part, the rest of it is easy, because then it's just once you assign a kid to a particular one, click on their sheet, share it to them, and then you can share it with the parent too, and then they can both look at those things in one concise place that you can put some specific notes all together. And, like, if you want to go in and put on a particular kid's thing, if you want to add some extra note about little whatever the kid's name is, decided that they were going to sleep through the entire thing, I mean, you can put those kinds of notes there. That's up to you. But anything individual like that, you're going to need to do. Because these notes, when it says notes for data, this is just general information. This is going to be something you'd put that's going to pop up on all of them. But you do have that opportunity to go on each one. So just a neat thing to do, especially this linking to other sheets kind of stuff. It's a great way to share stuff with other people, but not give them the access to change anything. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed that, and thanks for watching.